most important things you can do if you want top yields in soybeans is treat your seed. But the question is, what should you use? A fungicide, an insecticide, a biological product? Is there something else that's new and different that you should be trying on your seed? We'll talk about those things today.
One of the challenges of 2015 is with lower crop prices and high fertility prices and high cash rent prices in many areas, farmers are stuck thinking, I have to cut costs. Here's one area of your farm operation you don't want to cut costs: seed treatments. Seed treatments have been showing a good return on investment for years, and there are a wide variety of seed treatments that have shown a good return on investment.
Yeah, but the problem, Darren, is they don't show a great return on investment every single year.
Nothing
so
does.
one year you
Nothing
see
does.
5 or 7 bushel gain, the next year you see 0 or 1 or 2 bushel gain.
There's nothing that shows a return on investment 100% of the time. Even rainfall. You would say, okay, rainfall is good for my crop, right? Well, guess what? If you just had a 4-inch rain yesterday, a 3-inch rain this morning, is another inch of rain today going to help you? No, it's going to be a negative on your farm. Sunlight would be the same way. If you're in a drought and you have a hot burning sun and 100-degree temperature, guess what? I don't want to see sun today. I want clouds and I want a cooler day. So nothing is 100% on the farm. With seed treatments, they're about as close as you get. Yes, you're going to see a different level of return based on what's going on in your field and what kind of conditions there are. But when you talk about something that pays you back 3/4 of the time, that's really good. To me, that's a no-brainer on the farm.
Yeah, the other thing is, let's not forget, yes, I realize margins are really squeezed. We're looking at that on our farm as well. But we do still have $9 beans, and hopefully even better in the future. But when we're talking $9 beans, that's whole different than when we had $5 beans, okay? So we've got just about twice a chance to get a good return on investment. So let's get started talking about these individual components you could put on your seed this spring.
Okay, let's start with inoculant. When we think about an inexpensive product, we're often talking $1, $2 an acre, not very much, to add rhizobia bacteria to our seed. There's a few situations where inoculant is going to pay a lot more than it normally would. For example, if you had flooding conditions last year on the ground where you're going to plant soybeans, you killed a lot of the bacteria in your soil. So putting more of the good bacteria out there is really going to help you. If you're coming out of CRP or long-term continuous corn. Now, the other side of this is, we talked about flooding. If you have had extreme drought, you may want to put on inoculant in those situations too. Now, all that said, we've had fairly decent conditions, fairly good soybean yields the last few years on our farm. We're putting inoculant on every single acre. I just wouldn't plant a bean without it. For $1 or $2, we're using a product that in the worst case scenario, we're averaging a 1/2 bushel to a bushel. In the best case scenario, we may get 5 bushel gains or more.
All right, let's get to the next thing, fungicide. This is the one that, you know, when Darren talks about no-brainer things, this is the one I really think is a no-brainer. It's just like seed corn. Would you really plant your seed corn with no fungicide on it? No, you wouldn't even dream about doing that. There are a lot of new products out there, and you're going to find a lot of these newer ones too. It's going to be a combination new product. So there might be 3 or 4 different fungicides going on that seed. One for Pythium, one for Rhizoctonia, one for sudden death syndrome now. I mean, a lot of different options that we never used to have before, and even cyst nematode is another thing, whether it's Chloriva or Votivo. We have a lot more choices today than we've ever had before.
All right, when we talk about Chloriva and Votivo, they aren't fungicides, but the only way to get those is with those fungicide packages. And that's one of the things that gets to be a little bit tricky right now, is many of these seed treatments all come together in a package. So the question is, all right, well, I'm okay buying the fungicide. I think that's going to pay for me. How often will that insecticide package pay for me? Well, on average, what we've seen from this fungicide insecticide combo pack is a 2 to 5 bushel yield increase. Now, it could be even more. If you've got lots of disease pressure, lots of early bug pressure, could even be even bigger. But now let's just say you don't have much for bugs, you got just a few, and you don't have much for disease, you got just a little bit. Well, by putting both of them together and stopping both of those problems, disease and insects, we're getting at least a 2 bushel gain.
One thing I was going to mention too, make sure you check the respray packages, all right? Find out what happens if you do get disease. Find out what happens if you do get bugs, because there are some companies offering up to 2 free resprays for insects if you have any bugs show up later in the year. So that's an important thing when you're getting that seed treatment done. The last area that we wanted to talk about is the natural products, or some people will call them biological products. We've used Quick Rits on our farm for years, but there are a lot of different natural products that are out there today.
What we're seeing out of Quick Rits, for example, is that we're getting more nutrients into our plant than we would otherwise, and also we're getting more root hair development on our plant. So if we can get more root hairs and bring more nutrients in, that's bound to lead to positive effects in terms of better early plant growth and potentially better yields as well.
All right, so one of the things you may be thinking of is, oh my goodness, you just said I need to put inoculant on and fungicide, insecticide, and some other natural product on there. That's 4 things. Is that even going to work? Yes, it'll work. That's what we're doing on our farm exactly. We just encourage you, run the trials yourself on your farm. That's how we ended up doing what we're doing in our operation.
If you'd like to raise great yielding soybeans this year, we suggest you start with a good soybean seed treatment package and also control tough weeds like our Weed of the Week. Can you identify this week's weed?